knowledge is powerful, says a 38-year-old Yuwen Wang. Embrace it so that you can help people. One of Yuwen's goals is to work with deaf and hard of hearing and disabled refugees from war-torn countries. Deaf and hard of hearing refugees need someone who understands their language and their issues, he explains. I want to be the person to help them. I have food, clothes, shelter, and education. I want to give something back to help other people improve their lives. Born in Singapore, Yuwen came to the United States when he was 15 years old, so he could attend American school for the deaf. When it was time to think about college, he researched many schools and chose the National Technical Institute for the Deaf, Rochester Institute of Technology. Because of the support services available for the deaf students and because he feels the mix of deaf and hearing students on campus is beneficial to his personal and professional growth. Yuwen was a member of the Asian Deaf Club and the Dean's Leadership Advocacy Group. He has received numerous awards and scholarships, including the Outstanding International Student Award and the Robert F. Frisina Endowed Scholarship. And now, he is a president of Deaf and Hard of Hearing Federation Singapore.
Welcome to Inside Asia. We will continue our program today in Singapore. I have with me Mr. Yuwen Wang. He's a terrific guy. He's an IT assistant in an offshore oil and gas company. Thank you, Mr. Yuwen, for joining our program. Thank you so much. And I would like to ask you your most important challenge that you have encountered so far. Mr. Yuwen is writing saying that his most challenging task is to unite deaf and hard of hearing community. I think it's in Singapore, so that we can make, according to him, can make several progress. We need to work, he suggests, together to achieve same objective. So I asked, in what area is your priorities? The first one, he said that is the professional sign language interpreter. The second one is interpreting watchdog. The third one is a video relay service. The fourth one, we had an earlier conversation, that's what Mr. Yuwen jotted down, counseling center for deaf. And then you have issue on employment service and of course some scholarship. I would ask him what is the most important objective? What is the most important of all this? Mr. Yuwen said that this six objective will allow the deaf people access to the resource they need. But one of the objective here, Mr. Yuwen said, is the counseling. I'm asking him why counseling center for deaf is such a pivotal criteria. Yes. Mr. Yuwen said that many deaf persons have many problems in life. They have no one to talk to for assistance. For example, when the deaf and hard to hear person encounter domestic violence, financial difficulties, marital problems, work-related stress. And I'd like to ask you, do you have any of this problem? He answered in a very philosophical way. He said that everyone has problem and I'm not perfect. He is a social work graduated, and he has a full-time job, as I said earlier, and he also is a coordinator for mental health and case manager at the center here. And he also worked as a case manager for non-profit organization, Deaf Michigan. This is in Michigan, in the U.S. And also he wrote that he used to study and work in the United States for the past 20 years till mid-2009. And Yuwen has a very interesting life. He is planning to study for a graduate degree in public policy maybe next year under a very special programs established with the cooperation with the university in Singapore, the LKY School of Public Policy Studies, and also Mahidol Universities, and also an American university. These programs allows disability students to take up higher courses in public policy. And Mr. Yuwen will be a recipient of this scholarship. Let me ask him further about his job, because he has a very interesting job as IT assistant in one of the oil and gas company, offshore company. Can you tell me your work as IT assistant, or what do you do exactly? His job is to set up desktop, including laptop for the users within the office, patch phone line, fix the IT related problems and all that. What are the major problems that you encounter amongst the user in your office? Server. He said that it's about problem related to server. We have servers in co-room that handles infrastructure for entire building that company own. I see. Oh, I see. So you have to. Oh, it's a huge building, 18-story building. But so I asked him, do you work alone or you work with other people? How many people? I'm asking him how many people. He said that 7 of us. So in your work, how do you communicate with each other? Interesting. So he's saying that he used instant messenger to communicate with each other. It's a very convenient, and you don't need interpreters at all. You just send in the messages. So I'm asking him, you must be a very fast messenger sender. How many words? I'm asking him, how many words can he send in a second? My goodness. He said he can actually send 65 words per minute. And he also said that he even took up typing class when he was young. Oh, I see. That's a very high speed. That's a very high speed. So it's very useful in. Do you have a Twitter account? You have Twitter accounts and also Facebook. I'm asking him whether he has a Twitter account. He said yes. And he also said that he has a Facebook. So for you, I'm telling him that for him to send 140 words is nothing, or mostly Facebook. I would like to continue our conversation with Wu Wan Wang, and now we will be joined by Sephlin Chai, our science language interpreters. I would like to ask you, what is your future plans regarding improving the life of the deaf and hard hearing citizen in Singapore?
My most challenging goal will be uniting the deaf community in Singapore. The only way for us to work together is to be like a family working towards one goal. What are the things that the deaf people need? Number one, sign language interpreters. Number two, a watchdog. And number three, counseling center for the deaf people. And of course, to have a working agencies for the deaf, and also the leadership and sponsorship for the deaf people who wish to go for a higher education.
You are very exceptional to receive such a high degree in public policy. I was told that you plan to pursue your graduate study in public policy next year. So in your mind, you want to be a decision maker? Is that what you have in your mind?
Yes. I believe that the deaf rights can be improved through policies. And deaf people have their own deaf rights, their own way of living, their own culture, and of course making the deaf people to have access to information and resources. We need to get the deaf awareness to be recognized in the society. For now, there's no deaf right awareness in Singapore. If we were to compare in America, they have very strong deaf culture and deaf rights. And looking at Singapore, which is one of the developed countries in the world, they do not have sufficient resources to support the deaf people. And looking at, let's taking Japan as an example in Asia, where they have sufficient system to support people with disabilities. And I hope that through their studies, I'm able to develop the deaf community. And the reason why I feel stuck here is because I wasn't having any sufficient fundings for me to achieve the higher education.
So I was told that Nippon Foundation is organizing a scholarship, a new program at the LKY School for Public Policy Studies for students with disabilities.
Yes, that's right. The public policy studies is a perfect fit for me. It's because I have been wanting to study that area, and I have been trying and how to work with the government to get an equality between the hearing and the deaf people. And in order to make this, I feel that in policy making, it is sufficient for us, and that is why it is my interest to go for this further education. And of course, doing my service and my contribution to the deaf community. And I also hope that there will be some spokesmen that can understand our deaf needs in deeper level, so that they can help us to convince the school to allow people with disabilities to study in the school.
So Singapore is a member of ASEAN. If you receive such a high education and be part of policy makers, you can also influence overall policy in ASEAN. Don't you think so?
Yes, that's right. My goal is to get the deaf community and the people together, and also people with disabilities to come together, to come over to form a support group. And I also see that in other Asia countries, they have the political studies, and that can help me to work with different government agencies, because for each country, the government has slightly different view on this issue.
In one of your objective, you mentioned counseling. Why is so important with the deaf and hard-hearing people?
Because I noticed that in the schools over in Singapore, they don't have the kind of counseling services for the deaf people. I've seen many deaf people facing with personal issues, and they don't know how to get appropriate professional help for these issues. And all these issues is linked to the family, because for a deaf child who has a hearing parent, usually they lack in communication, and they wouldn't understand very much about the deaf children and what they need. So it is very important to have a counseling center in Singapore for the deaf people. That is why counseling center can help the people, and also helping them in turn, empowering them to be independent, self-sufficient, and of course being independent, self-sufficient, and of course being self-reliable.
You also have a full-time job. Was it difficult for you to get a job full-time in competition with others?
There's no equal opportunity in Singapore, whereas in America, they have deaf doctors, they have lawyers who are deaf, and they also have deaf teachers. But however, you can't find any in Singapore. And I took almost 1.5 years to get a full-time job. And along the way, while I do other part-time jobs, I still persevere to look for a full-time job. And before I got my full-time job, I was working as a dishwasher. But I persevered enough, and I found a full-time job. And I only got that full-time job 2 months ago. And this is the new job, which I'm working as an IT assistant.
Do you face any discrimination in your workplace?
In the past, yes, I experienced discrimination at work. It's not easy to find a job, because I'm consider myself lucky that I'm able to get a job in this company. And I'm surprised that the company accepted me readily for this job. And it was very nice for me, and it's a good experience for me. So for me to advise the other deaf people to look for a job, I think it also mainly depends on the company.
But you are very exceptional given your education background and your achievement. So the company is very lucky to have you, and you should set a good example for other people like you, or for that matters for the people who work in the company. What lesson you have obtained from searching for job for several months and getting the job, gaining acceptance? What are the valuable lessons you have learned and would like to share with others?
I learned is that for me during this period, one of the reasons is I need to be strategic, meaning that I need to change my cover letter and also my resume. I need to tweak a bit of them so that I can suit the profile that the company is looking for, instead of having only one resume to send to all different companies. And then once the company keep in touch with me, I also tell them and educate them slightly to let them know about deaf people working in the job. And then I also spend a lot of time waiting. I need to be patient. And for this current job, I waited, and finally I got an interview. And I'm really grateful to the boss who's willing to give me a chance. Of all the companies I've applied, my current company is the only one who has responded to me. And finding a job is not easy. Some of my few colleagues have asked me, where have all the other deaf people been? So I have to explain to them the deaf people, some of them experience things like discriminations. I'm quite glad that my colleagues in my team, they are very open-minded and they are ready to accept people with disabilities.
You are saying that your colleagues slowly get sensitized with having a person like you working with them.
Yes, they have been seeing me as an equal person with equal opportunities. So that's not an issue. And I have been in the job for 2 months and things seems to go on very smoothly.
So far so good.
Yes, that's right.
Of course you are confident that you will get the job, hopefully permanently.
Yes. They have already offered me a permanent job. It's just that I need to go through the probation during these 3 months.
In your case, how important is your family support and understanding?
My parents, they understand me, and they understand the reason and how difficult it is for me to find a job. So they help me by giving me some allowance to cover transportation and meals, so that when I travel to look for a job, my transportation fees will be covered. So now I'm staying with my parents' home is because I can't afford to buy my own home now, because to buy a house in Singapore is very, very expensive. And it's almost impossible for me to buy a house because of the higher standard of living in Singapore. I actually have to start saving for a few years. So now I'm actually staying with my parents, so that as I save and I work, I will save enough to buy myself a house.
Do you also use the social network? You also keep a Facebook and you Twitter also?
Yes, I have. I use a lot of Facebook more than Twitter, because I don't use much of Twitter. My favorite network would be Facebook, because that allows me to connect with people all over the world, and it's also for me to really get updated with the life of my friends all over the world. It's much easier to contact, and that's a wonderful way for me to
your friends in Singapore, in America, or around the world that you made friends online?
Most of them are my friends from America, and of course from Singapore, and also friends in Europe. I don't add any strangers because I don't really know them, so I don't really add them. I don't feel comfortable. I only add those who I know, and I feel more comfortable with them, so I'll add them.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I wish you all the best, and I hope that after you graduate your master's degree next year, you will be able to participate in policy making to help the person with deaf and hard hearing. Thank you very much again.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Actually, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Well, that's all the time we have for our program in Singapore. I hope you enjoyed it. Good night. สวัสดีครับ